all is in the audience. Can I just have a show of hands of medical professionals in the audience? Like psychologists, social workers, nursing staff, anybody from a business perspective, marketing. Okay, all right. I first gave this lecture, and I was asked to give this lecture to Rush Day School 6 years ago, in 2011. I'm an associate professor at Rush, so I often teach. And then the very next spring, they asked me to do a cultural competency lecture, because I don't know if you guys are aware that it is a federal mandate, and certain states they enforce the mandate. So I had to give the lecture. And this lecture has evolved over the years for me. And currently, as of October of last year, I started writing my book. And my editor, my coach, over the past 2 or 3 weeks, I meet with her every Thursday, we've come up with some new ideas and some new things, and I'm going to share that with you here today. So I'll put in some new slides. I'm the type of lecturer, teacher, who likes involvement with the audience. This is how I learn. This is how I think you learn better. It's a give and take type of a situation. I have to know where you're thinking, where you're at, so I can try my best to give you the information that I feel that you need. This is a sound off. I'm sounding off the alarm. I'm rallying support among medical professionals to recognize and become more culturally competent. This is a very important topic. What I'm going to have passed out to you is a self-assessment form. It's a cultural IQ test. It's for your eyes only, meaning that only you will see this exam. There's 7 questions, and on the back is the scoring. And it's just so you can know where you're at on the pendulum of becoming more culturally competent. So you won't have to share with anybody, okay? So they're passing out the yellow sheets. So I would like you guys to take a few minutes and fill that out for me, if that's okay? All right. In my book, in my introduction, I tell a story about when I became culturally aware. And I thought today I would share that story with you before I start into the lecture. This is my personal story. It's still being developed with my editor and coach. My personal story. My cultural competency journey began when I was 8 years old, growing up during the Civil Rights Movement. During that time, I lived with my 5 siblings and my mother. I recall that my mother was in the process of divorcing my father. We lived in an area called Lawndale, a segregated community on Chicago's west side. This was a place and a time when it seemed as though blacks had common goals and similar value sets. These goals and values were steeped in our beliefs, language, and social traditions as a people. Mostly my community was comprised of Southern Baptist folk who migrated from the South to the North for better jobs and housing, education, and an overall better life. I lived in a community where children were identified by their surnames. I was known as Mrs. Benford's granddaughter, who was kinfolk of the Redlands and the Dixons. We had a community where high standards and values were not only the expectations, but were fiercely enforced and practiced. Extended family was immediate family. My maternal grandparents helped my mother rear us. My grandmother, Miss Annie, was dropped off at our home every week by my grandfather. She stayed with us from Sunday night through Friday afternoon to assist my mother in caring for us because my mom worked 2 jobs and went to school. I tell a funny story of my early recognition of differences in cultures. One day every week, my grandmother would attempt to rush us through dinner so that she could meet her friends in the living room to sit on my mother's plastic-covered French Prudential sofa to watch this odd-looking man shake his hips and speak in a strange voice. Later, I would discover that man was Tom Jones of the Tom Jones Show. My grandmother wanted all of her grandchildren out of the kitchen quick so that she could enjoy her adult entertainment and ensure that the kitchen would be clean prior to bedtime. I noted my grandmother and her friends would sweat and scream as this man performed. Nevertheless, this was my opportunity to give my sister my savings for the week, convincing her to eat slowly and prepare herself to get my mother's 2 crystal glasses and candles down out of the china cabinet. Each week, we would pretend as quietly as possible that we were in a foreign country speaking their language and eating their food. My grandmother eating their food. Sometimes we ate dinner in France. Other times we dined in Italy. After several dinners, my grandmother called us and asked me, "What is wrong with you? And where do you get these ideas from?" In response, I asked her, "Why are you sitting on a plastic-covered French Prudential sofa and watching and screaming over a man who does not look or speak like my grandfather?" With an understanding glance, my grandmother realized that I was trying to connect with and understand the many differences in people, including her heartthrob, Tom Jones. So that was my earliest recognition of that I can remember of people. So we're going to ask a volunteer from the audience. I see someone here who has volunteered. She's so gracious to come up, and we're going to define race as a group. So you can come up. This is Mrs. Melissa Shriver. She works at Oakland as a case manager, so I've known her for 5 years. So thank you. I believe both of those pairs work. So can someone tell me what is the biological definition of race? No one?
It's not a biological.
Well, what's the definition of race? Let's just start that. Can one just tell me just anything? How would you define race? Biological characteristics.
Genetic makeup.
Genetic makeup. Excellent. How about individuals with the same physical characteristics, such as skin color, bone structure perhaps, eye color, hair texture, ancestry, anyone else? This is a good time to talk about, so that's the biological definition of race. Ancestry, makeup, similar characteristics, skin, hair, okay? So let me give you the scholarly definition, the biological definition of race. It's so small. The concept of race has historically signified the division of humanity into a small number of groups based upon 5 criteria. Races reflect some type of biological foundation, because you said it was genetic.